Hey guys, what's up? I want to make a video today that should be the ultimate video, the video that you're not going to really need to have another course, another understanding of it. Pretty much, I'm going to give you the key to success. Now, every book out there says that they have the key to success here, the key to success here, the key. But I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to have to tell you through a story, okay? So, for some of you, you may not like some parts of the story. Let me just first preface by saying that I am not being pretentious. I am not being show-offy. I am not trying to put myself above anybody else. I am simply just stating the facts of my story. Now, within this story, of course, at the end of this, you will find out exactly what the key, the real key to success is. And I guarantee you that once you know and understand this, you will be successful in everything that you do. Now, of course, I made other videos to explain what success really is, like what is success. So I'm just gonna make a quick little example right here. And that is, if I wanted to move in this direction and I've made up in my mind that I want to move in this direction and I sought out to do it and then I do it, I have succeeded in the thing that I wanted to do. Now, let's say the same thing. I wanted to move here and I wanted to move in that direction. But the moment I move in that direction, let's say a BB shot right across here, and so I didn't fully commit to go all the way to point B, but I'm still successful. How could you still be successful? The success lies inside the intention of you moving toward that direction. Towards this direction is success, or what would be success for me in this particular scenario. The same thing is true that we're successful when we wake up in the morning and we say we're going to brush our teeth, we're going to fix our hair. Well, in my case, maybe not my hair, but we're going to wear a certain clothing and we're going to go and do A, B, and C. And then we do those things, we have become successful in those things. So while those are kind of like a small granular version of what success is, I'm going to give you for real, okay, for free, the real true success and how to acquire it and where it's actually found. Okay, so if you bear with me, stay with this story. Now, in order to make this fruitful for you, I think it's important to go back as far as when I used to work in the mailroom, okay? And I was just coming out of my teenage years. I was a teenager, and I was working at a mailroom in a big advertising place in New York City. Now, when I say big, they were a premier advertising agency, but I was just simply working in the mailroom. Now, how I got to the mailroom at that point is a whole other story, but we're gonna start the story with me being in the mailroom. Now, one day I was drawing on my lunch break and I was just doodling on a piece of pad. And one of the artists who worked there, the computer artist, saw my art and said, "Oh, did you draw that?" And I said, "Yeah, I drew that." And she said, "Wow, you ever tried doing this on a computer?" Now, on a computer, the fact that anyone would even mention my name and computer at the time would be ridiculous. Like, I was just a regular Hispanic, or would be considered a spick in New York City, Lower East Side, Puerto Rican, with no education, working in the mailroom. I mean, how quintessential is that? So me and computers was absolutely something that I never even thought of or imagined. So nonetheless, she said to me, well, I'm writing a book, and she was kind of like ahead of her time. She was writing a book almost like for dummies, how to take someone like me who didn't know anything. When I say anything, I'm talking about anything other than me seeing that there was a computer screen. Anything about computers, and then taking someone like me, teaching them, and then seeing how much progress can be made and how far this can be taken. And so she says she's writing a book and she would like to use me if I would, if I wanted to learn. And I was like, yeah, I mean, sure. So I remember going to my wife now, back then my girlfriend, and telling her about the experience that, this lady kind of took interest in my art, and she wanted to teach me how to do computers, and she was going to teach me one program, and at the time it was called Quark Express, and it was for pre-press, for printing stuff, and and she was like, wow, that's cool, like I would definitely do it. And so I did. So after work, and I worked like a beast in the mailroom, by the way, and I went back and forth. There were 3 partners in that agency, and the company was ginormous, but they were 3 equal partners, and they all had their own little nuances on how they interacted with me and vice versa. So I started to learn with her, and I grew such an interest and a love for it because I got to see how I can use my artistic ability, which back then was just painting, oil painting, canvas, drawing, and all that other good stuff, and taking that and then bringing it into the digital world. But more than that, what it did for me was kind of expand um, my reality, like what's possible, what can be done. And so I went from learning one program to like having this insatiable appetite of learning 2 programs, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then just kind of gobble, gobble, gobble. And I ended up learning a myriad of software packages. And for her, it was like, this guy really went at this. And what helped me grow in the process was that now that I was working in an ad agency and then learning from someone who was a professional in this business and teaching me hands-on, one-on-one, and then with me having this insatiable appetite to learn more, well, what I was doing was when I was working inside, I would go to the computer department and I would speak to a couple of people, and I'd be like, well, how do you do this in Photoshop? Oh, how do you do this in Illustrator? Oh, how do you do this in Quark Express? Well, how do you do? And I would ask everybody, and I had these little stickies, and I remember asking the question and then writing my answers. And at the end of the day, I had about 50 to 100 stickies in my pocket, and I would study them. Now I saved up to buy myself a black and white Apple computer at the time, and it was black and white. That's all I can afford, and I learned how to use Photoshop in black and white. Now, what it did was it helped push me to learn colors and color values and inputs and outputs, and histogram and all of that, and levels and curves more, because I had to rely on numbers and not necessarily color, because I didn't have a color computer. But what it helped for me was, because it was harder, was help me get more questions to ask in order to know what type of questions to ask, in order what answers I need to get and extrapolate in order for me to learn how to put it into action. And in the interim, I was of course still learning with this lady. And by the way, she used to teach me at her house. After I finished work, I would go straight there. And so I had that, I had the in between. So in that process, one of the owners of the company didn't like that I was bothering the computer people and didn't want me to learn. And I would sometimes, on the times that I wasn't learning or training with this lady, I would stay after work in the computer department and just find a computer and then work on the computer. So one of the 3 owners found out, and he wasn't too happy with me, being on the computer and learning and all that other good stuff. So I put a portfolio together eventually, and I gave it to him, and I asked him to please look at it. I was hoping that I can have the opportunity to, move up, and not even in salary. I could care less about the money, but to move up in position to something that was more akin to what I do as a person creatively. And months went by, and that portfolio never left his office. It was in one little corner. One day I mustered up the courage to go speak to him, and I knocked on his door and I asked if I can come in, and he said yes. And I sat down, and I remember he crossed his legs. He had this beautiful granite table, and he took off his glasses, and he wanted to know, well, what do you have to say? And I said, I asked him if he saw my portfolio. Now I knew he hadn't seen it because it was in the same exact corner collecting dust. And so he said, no, he didn't see it. And then he said something even more important and emphatic, and that was that he wasn't going to see it. So that kind of took me back a little bit, and I was like, you know, and he said, see, Joseph, there are a lot of people that are good at what they do. And he says, you're a hard worker, you're a great mailroom guy, and there have been a lot of people who have built a career, a successful career, being in the mailroom. And he says, you've been here, I've been there already for a few years, okay? I was there 5 years, by the way. I went all the way through until I actually got married, okay? Because I got married young. So he told me that was the only vision that he saw for me, and that was working in a computer. Working in the mailroom, and he didn't see me working in a computer or on a computer, or even in that whole sphere, that world. And then he proceeded to tell me why. So while he thought that my capacity as a mailroom guy was all I could work at, I didn't have a good education, so I would admit to that. I didn't have a really good work history. I've worked odd and end jobs, but nothing like this at an ad agency. And so I can understand that. But what he said to me was so important that it just literally kicked me in the gut. And that was, he says, people are not ever going to look at you as anything but a mailroom guy, because that's the role that you fit well. You curse like a truck driver. Your vocabulary is limited. You don't speak with eloquence, and you don't bring any other value to a conversation other than your sphere, which at that time was what I knew, the street. And that people would not see me as anything other than that. I used to wear my baseball cap backwards, and I used to wear a t-shirt. And he said all of these things, and I'm going to assume these many years later that he said it because maybe he knew I was a fighter and that I would do something to change it, or quite frankly, maybe he just said it to really hurt me and defeat me. But that moment of feeling embarrassed, feeling angry, feeling scared, feeling weird, all these mixed feelings in my gut, in my stomach, in my head, wow, threw me for a loop. And I was really set back in my head. And the irony in this was that I was having this conversation. I initially had this conversation in hopes that he would hire me to kind of make it from the mailroom and then do what I need to do for the rest of my career there. But that's not how it turned out. And the irony, I say, is that I was banking on that because I was going to get married shortly and go get married and then go on my honeymoon. And I felt like, wow, this kind of threw me, like I was not going to be more than just a mailroom guy, but something inside of me wanted to push for more. And while I didn't have the education, nor did I have the accolades that everybody gets with trying to become, at that time, someone who works on a graphic computer doing graphic designs, I didn't have that. I did have the creative tenacity within me. I had the creative fortitude. I had the creative prowess. I had the creative everything. I am creative. I had it with me. But exterior to the world, it seemed like I had nothing. So we'll fast forward. I ended up getting married and went to my honeymoon. And on the last day of my honeymoon, I remember I was in the pool with now my wife, and I said, I said to her, I think I'm going to quit the job that I'm in, because I got to do something to move beyond that. I mean, the partners don't see me. Surely this particular partner did not see me as anything other than a mailroom guy, and the world is never going to see, the talent and the gifts that I have. And on top of that, it was more because I'm a fighter that I knew that I had to prove something. And that's never good, never always a good catalyst for doing anything. But nonetheless, it was a catalyst for me because, there aren't too many people that will believe in you when you're going to do something that's so different, worlds apart than what they know you as. And I understand that. So I told her I was going to quit, and she was like, oh, snap. So, but she stood by my side. She believed in me, and she knew that whatever you put me to do, I'm going to not just accomplish, but I'm going to be the best at it. And so I came back from our honeymoon, and I remember I had my one of my bags here and one of the briefcases down here, and we were just walking in from our honeymoon, and the phone was ringing, and the phone rang, ding ding ding. We go inside, and I picked up the phone even before we even put down the luggage. And I remember picking up the phone, and it was the creative director, the manager of the studio at the place that I was working at. Now, apparently, within the 2 weeks that I was away on my honeymoon, she had retired or quit and moved to another big ad agency. Now, she had been seeing me all of these years, working hard, learning, growing, and it just so happens that one of her good friends was the lady who was teaching me and writing the book. And so I guess not only did she get to see my progress and see me working and see me doing my thing and investing a crazy amount of money on books that used to be this thick because you couldn't get anything on YouTube at the time, and books and CDs and all of this. I mean, I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, like for invested money that I didn't even have. I was paying on credit cards and stuff. But she called me and she says, "Hey Joseph, how you doing?" I said, "I'm good. I just got back from my honeymoon." She said, "Oh yeah, congratulations." Da, da, da. And I'll skip to the story. She says, "Are you still doing working on computers?" And I said, I mean, yeah, I'm still working on computers, but not officially. I'm still actually in the mailroom. I said, "It's funny that you asked that question." I said, "Don't tell anybody this, but because this was a Sunday, Monday would have been the next day." I said, "I'm actually going to, quit my job tomorrow. I'm going to give them my 2 weeks notice. And I'm going to have to just find a way to do something to get into this business and not be seen just as this mailroom guy. And unfortunately, you can't be in this company." And she says, "Well, that's funny because I'm calling you because I've seen your hard work and I've seen your dedication, and I actually saw your portfolio, and I spoke with Arlene." Arlene was the lady who was teaching me. She tells me all about your progress from learning one software package to all of a sudden knowing all of them, and not just knowing them, but becoming extremely proficient at it. And I've seen you in the studio asking all of the digital artists how to do this and how to do that. And I know that you bought yourself a black and white laptop. And she offered me a position. And that was my first position in the digital world outside of the mailroom. And she mentioned that to me, and then she mentioned the salary, and I wasn't making that in the mailroom. And it was like, I started to cry. I literally cried. I put down my bags and I couldn't speak because I was just choked up. And I remember giving the phone to my wife, and then she was like, "Who's this?" And I just went upstairs, and I was just shocked what just happened here. So we're fast forwarding, and now I'm in this new company at another ad agency, top dollar ad agency. And within the first couple of months, it turned out that they saw something in me and my leadership, where they made me a manager for the photo retouching department because of my creative prowess and because I actually knew how to use Photoshop at the time, and specifically for the print medium. And then it went from that to going to another company. And at this point, I had become a viable source in this community for what it is that people were looking for. And at this time, I was already learning 3D, which was basically non-existent at the time. And I made a massive move. I bought myself a $17,000 computer. It was a Windows NT, which was basically like a server. And it was the only thing powerful enough to run 3D graphics at the time. And then I spent another, I think it was $12,000 for the software package itself, which is called Maya. At the time, it was, I completely forgot the name of the software. It was before it was Autodesk, because today is Autodesk Maya. It was something else, another owner. And I invested in that because I knew that this is the thing that I'm going to excel at, and this is the thing I'm going to do. Now, I didn't have all the money for that, but at this point, the appetite was filling me, and I just kept on filling every different role, and I became kind of like a hot commodity in this arena. And I was able to, people knew that I would go into ad agencies where they didn't have what I ultimately became, a multimedia department. They didn't have that. They would hire me, and then I would be the one person in the multimedia department, because I was the department, and then grew that into something that became a whole extra revenue for the company. And not just an extra revenue, but a revenue that would ultimately spill into the future. And so it became pretty lucrative for all of these companies, and I made a tremendous amount of money at such an early age. And this is the part that I said earlier. I don't want to sound pretentious or show-offy. I'm just kind of letting you know the facts. And I made a crazy amount of money. I was definitely making above six figures. And I was able to buy my first house at this point. I was already married, and now we had our first child. And I was able to provide by buying a house in a community that was affluent, but not so bougie. But nonetheless, it was a very good house. It had 6 rooms and had a pool in the back. And then I just went crazy buying Mercedes and Rolex watches and Mont Blanc pens and expensive suits and shoes. And I really went overboard. And that's what happens when you make the type of money you make, and not coming from money, you don't kind of respect or appreciate it. And to be honest with you, I never did anything for money. I did it because I was just getting good at everything that I touched. And life pays you back. So then we fast forward. Now, if you were to judge my life just up until that point, I had accomplished in my life everything that I wanted to accomplish. Everything. I had my wife, I had my kid, I had my house, I had my expensive cars, I had my great positions, I had everything. If I would have got shot in the head that day, that time, I would have accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish and sought out to accomplish. And then we fast forward, and this is where life wants to help you become an even bigger, better person, but this time not for yourself, but for everybody else. Hence, me making this video. And I promise I'm going to get to what that secret is, okay? So life will now hit you. I ran into a myriad of situations where my health, I was basically going to die, and my health was at stake here. And now I have 3 kids, and I have my mortgage, and life really hits you. You got to make a lot of different decisions and changes. And now I'm not just working for me, I'm working for my family. I'm working for my progeny. I'm working for a future and the legacy. Now, throughout this whole time, I've always done martial arts. My father is my teacher, and since I was a kid, and so since, let's say, 5 years all the way till now, I've been doing martial arts almost every single day since I was 5 years old. It is in my DNA. It is in my life, and it is the thing that undergirding, I would say, strength, and I'll put a little asterisk on that, that has propelled me to have the mental fortitude to move forward and to move towards the goals that I need to accomplish, regardless of all of the obstacles in it. So this is what happens in life, okay? Um, I'm gonna go back and forth real quick, and that is, um, there's a lot of people who don't want you to succeed. There's a lot of people when you have the car, when you have the house and everything, who come to your house, and these are family and friends, and people want to borrow money, and people know that you're making money, and they want to be attached to you. They want to pick your brain. Um, you know, you need a loan. We'll give you a loan. You need somebody to co-sign for you. I'll co-sign for you. My credit was ridiculous, and this is where the leeches of society, of life, come in. And I use the word leech. I know it might be tough, but that's essentially what they do. They leech onto you, and they suck the life force out of you. And when I used to do things for me because I knew that I can do it, and even though I didn't have the talent or the skill here, then I knew that I was just going to easily acquire it because I put in the hard work. Roll up your sleeves, you do what you got to do to get to point B. And when you get to point B, awesome, check that off your list, and you get to point C, and you just keep on plowing, plowing, and plowing. But I did that initially, always knowing that I was the one who was going to plow, plow, plow. I was going to take care of my wife. I was going to take care of my kids. I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to take care of my friends. And anybody who needed money, boom, I'm going to give them money. I always carried around hundreds of dollars in my pocket, and when people needed something, boom. And again, that was stupid. I almost became like an MC Hammer. Basically, you could lose your whole fortune just giving to people, because people will continue to take. But this has to happen in your life so that turmoil could come in. And then, I didn't have, and then I had, and then I didn't have, then I had a lot, then I didn't have, didn't really have, and then my life, my actual life was in jeopardy, and then I didn't have. And that's just the ebbs and flows of life, and that's just the way it is. But at the end of the day, what you learn out of every experience is the thing that makes you stronger, and it's the thing that you can honestly say that you're going to succeed at whatever it is that you do. You don't know when, but you know for certain you will succeed at it. But the difference is, if I'm working for myself, hey, I'm just working for myself. But if I'm working for, because I don't want my wife to have a job outside of, our home, because I have kids that I would prefer that they be with their mother. And now it's just the mother, and then it's the kids, and then it's life, and then it's battles, and then it's people, and then it's all of these other nuances. Those blows start to take their effect. Maybe at the beginning of the race, I'll take those blows and take it on the chin. But you get hit enough time with enough force and enough ferocity, with enough real intentions, they start to wear you down. I'm gonna fast forward right now. I have so much to say, but you will go through ups and downs. And when you're down, you're only down for a reason. You're down because the best perspective to see people is from down. It's to look up and see who's kicking the dirt on your face while you're down, who's beating you while you're down, who's spitting at you while you're down, who's turning their back while you're down. You get this unique perspective, and you can only get that perspective when you're down. But even when you're down, you're still successful. Why? Because at the beginning, like I told you, if I wanted to move from here to here, and I start moving in that direction, I'm already successful because I started to move towards that direction. Now, if I went there, stopped, and came back, well, then that wouldn't be successful because I gave up. But if you plow through it, you will be successful every single time. So let me now say and wrap everything up here. If you guys are still in here, awesome. There's too much to say, and I wish I could make more videos about this, and perhaps I will. But there's a lot of nuances where you get to see the ugliness and the toxicity of people. And you get so lost and mired into the things of life and into people and to what did they say and who cares about this and why did they leave me and all, that you forget about the point B. And that's the thing I want you to get here. You are at point A. write down your point B, and there's going to be a lot of stuff in between here. But if you continue to move towards your point B, guarantee you will make it. Come hell or high water, no matter what kind of pain, how many people you lose in the process, it has to be done. So when I say it has to be done, what in the world does that mean? So I believe in God. I believe that God has been the main providence in my life. Now, before I knew God, He was in my life. And His providence has brought me to moments of eureka, light bulbs, all the time. And all He was doing was drawing me close to Him. So the success and using the creative skill and talent and leadership that He gave me since I was born, I used it, but I didn't know it came from Him, right? And I used it, and I used it wrongly, and sometimes it worked out for me because His providence was always there. Then I got from this point to this point to this point to this point, only to realize that without Him, the source of the gift that He's blessed, or gifts, plural, that He's blessed me with, everything is in vain. So what He does is He brings you towards Him, and then He cuts everything down, read the book of Job, to show you, just in case you didn't know, where your success came from. And more importantly, where it's going. But all glory goes to God all the time, not to me. So now, if you want to know the secret of your success, you want to know? You probably know by now. It's going to be your Creator. It's going to be God. But it's not just the fact that God is the source of your success, because He is, providentially, He's in all of our lives. But it's what you allow Him to do in and through you that becomes the success. You see, when you live a life for God, there is absolutely nothing impossible, like for real. And when I say that, I'm telling you, I'm going to be 53 years old this January 1st. And 53 years living, okay, that's not longer than 70 years of living, but it's longer than 20, 30 years. I mean, I've been doing my career since most of you probably watching have even lived. And I've been successful at it. I've been able to help people in position because I was able to provide. I was able to provide a lifestyle for my wife and my kids. I'm already successful. I've already lived several success stories. And again, I say that not to be cocky. It's a fact. There are people who have been striving their whole life to just accomplish one thing, to be successful at one thing, just at one time, please. And I've been blessed to accomplish a myriad of things and be successful a myriad of times in my life. I just never saw it like that because we keep on reaching for that dangling carrot stick. But I'm here to say now to you guys, to save you a whole lot of headache, is to seek first the kingdom of God. Seek God first. And when you do that, you're going to find out your purpose. When you find out your purpose, He's going to help refine that purpose. When you find that purpose, you will be utilized in ways that you literally cannot imagine. And you will impact and affect the world in a way that you by yourself just cannot do. So I'm telling you now, my life has been a tremendous success. And I say even to this day that if I lost my life today, that I've accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish and then some. But more importantly, I accomplished the things that God had for me to accomplish. Now He has much more for me to accomplish, and He has much more people in front of me to help. And so I know that the next half of my life will be more successful than the first half of my life. And so the secret to your success is not something you purchase. It's not something you learn. It's not something that you put on. It's not something that someone tells you. You are successful. The success that you have is because God already created it in you. And now, through your relationship with Christ, you will know who you are more. And when you know yourself more, you get to see the image of God reflected in that. And when you see the image of God reflected in that, you will move like God. Notice the word like. But if he moves and has his being inside of you, then there's literally nothing that can happen to you. And nothing, it says in scripture that his word does not come back void, meaning what he says will happen, period, end of story. No doors he shuts can open, and vice versa. And now knowing that you can be used as a vessel of God, everything is possible. And so today, not tomorrow, not a year from now, today you could be successful knowing that if you strengthen your relationship with your Creator, he will open up the gifts that he already created in you. And for you to see, the blinders will be removed, and you will move in a direction that will be like warp speed. And then people will be drawn to you because you will help people to get out of the situation that they're in as well. Please share this video to as many people as possible. Like, subscribe, share, write your comments. I'm telling you now, if your way hasn't been working for how many years you've been alive on this earth, meet your Creator for real. Commune with your Creator for real. Have a real relationship with your Creator through Christ. And I guarantee you, guarantee you that you will have a success and an abundance in your life that is unparalleled. And I'm hoping that you will write to me, and knowing that God has spoken to you through me, I'm knowing that my life has been worth the value that he gave me. All right, so anybody has any comments? There's so much more to say, but I'm hoping that you took the journey of my life and just understood and saw the how God's hands has been in everything that I do. And I mentioned earlier about me doing martial arts because it just so happens, I own and run a gym in Tampa, and we're going to be opening up something that is going to be like nobody's ever seen, and it's going to be more than just a gym. And that is just kind of like, as it says in scripture, that God gives you the desires of your heart. And that's just one of my desires, one of my little, he gives me a little cherry on top, so to speak, in my life by blessing me with that. Hope you guys can be a part of it. All right, guys, it's been phenomenal. I know it's been long, but I really hope that you got something out of this. It's not my words, it's God's words through my story that he has given me. That is my testimony to you. And I'm hoping that the words that are literally coming out of my mouth reverberate through the screen into your brain and into what would ultimately be the thing that changes and shifts in your life to a relationship with God, so that you can ultimately have the success that you need. All right, looking forward to hearing from you. God bless. Thank you.